Buying your first home can feel pretty overwhelming, especially in a market like Portland. Between interest rates and the mortgage loan learning curve, down payment confusion, what inspections to do, and figuring out which neighborhood to live in this vast metro area can be pretty confusing, and there are a lot of moving pieces. The good news is that becoming a homeowner in Portland may be more achievable than you might think. Today I'm going to share with you a bunch of tips and information for first-time homebuyers in 2026 for the Portland, Oregon area. This is going to include financing options, common mistakes to avoid, and what I think buyers should know before they get started. At the end, I'll give you a step-by-step game plan and exactly how to get started. Before we dive in, I'm Andy Harris, a realtor with Foris Real Estate, brokered by eXp Realty. I've been doing this in Portland market for about 11 years, and I've been in real estate for about 17 years total. I've always considered one of the most fulfilling parts of my job is working with first-time home buyers. So they've never gone through it before, often have a lot of questions, and it's always nice to get them started on the right direction and getting into their first home. If you'd like a bit of a head start to your buying process, I have put together a home buyer guide for you. So just reach out or comment below and I'd be happy to send you a copy. And if you'd rather just talk through things, you can book a no obligation, no pressure meeting with me. I have a link in the description below. It's where you can book a 30-minute meeting. Okay, now let's get into the video. The tip number one that I have for you is you probably don't need a 20% down payment. One of the biggest myths I still hear, or the questions that I still hear, is people who are asking if they need 20% down payment to buy. This is an old myth that comes from a long time ago where you used to actually need to have 20% down. That's no longer the case. There are 3 or 3.5% down payment programs are very common. There are 0% down payments for VA buyers, and there are also special loan programs sometimes for 0% down for just your regular home buyer that doesn't have VA financing. Of course, every buyer situation is different, but in general, waiting to save 20% for your down payment might not be the right strategy as prices continue to rise and you sit out and continue to rent and pay your landlord's mortgage. So I would definitely consider talking to a lender and seeing what your options are, and they are likely to be much lower than just your 20% down payment. Okay, this sort of transitions to my second tip, and that is really to get pre-approved by a mortgage lender before you actually shop for homes. This may sound obvious to some people, but for many buyers, especially first-time home buyers, they might skip this step. Personally seen this happen dozens and dozens of times where buyers will skip getting their pre-approval and they'll start wasting time looking at houses that they can't afford, or they might even find out that they're not even ready to buy in the first place. Pre-approval is going to help you understand a lot of things, and in particular, like what your monthly payment might be, or what you're comfortable with, what your estimated closing costs are going to be, how much cash you might need up front and to close, and what price range just makes sense for you. One thing to keep in mind is just because a lender approves you for a certain amount for a mortgage doesn't mean you need to spend that much. It's not uncommon to qualify for a lot more than you're actually comfortable with. So it's good to talk to a lender, figure out what your budget is, and then figure out what your comfort level is in terms of your monthly payment. You know, I always encourage buyers to also think about what lifestyle they want after they buy in terms of that monthly payment. Like, do you still want to travel or eat out occasionally or save for retirement, own a dog? Your mortgage really should support your life and your lifestyle and be part of your long-term financial goal, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you're budgeting for. Okay, and again, this kind of takes me into the third tip, and that is to budget beyond just your mortgage payment. First-time buyers often focus on the principal and interest payment, but homeownership includes a lot of other costs like property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, repairs. Other potential costs could be landscaping costs or HOA dues. So a good rule of thumb is to expect some additional maintenance costs each year, and of course you might want to do some upgrades as well. Okay, tip number 4 is just for you to be aware that Portland's neighborhoods are really very different. It's one thing that I actually love about Portland, and I love that the neighborhoods have such distinct personalities. But if you're buying your first home and you really want to start thinking about the location and what do you prioritize, like walkability, a large lot, new construction, a short commute, restaurants nearby or a quieter residential feel. For example, Portland's Inner East Side offers a great combination of dynamic, walkable neighborhoods with a lot of single-family home stock, with some condo, townhome, and multifamily options in there. Whereas downtown Portland and the Pearl District and the neighborhoods around there, those are the most dense, the most walkable, the most going on in general, but really for the most part are really heavy in condo and townhome options. Portland's west side has generally larger lots, more rolling hills and trees, and feels a little bit more suburban and is also therefore a little bit more car-centric. Then the suburbs are often considered the most family-friendly, but of course are also really car-dependent as well. There's rarely the perfect neighborhood, but usually it's about finding the right balance of price, lifestyle, commute, etc. The best thing and my recommendation to do here would be, in particular if you're relocating, is to talk with any friends or family you know in the area, or to chat with your realtor about what your needs are and have them help you figure out what are maybe the top areas for you to consider. Okay, tip number 6 is, so just know that out there exist programs for low or no down payment programs, closing cost assistance or grants, or down payment assistance and grants, reduced mortgage insurance, or below market interest rates. In fact, there's one bank right now that's offering up to $17,500 in closing costs and down payment grants, which is the most generous program I've ever seen. I've done a couple of these lately and they're fantastic. In fact, I've actually put together a special loan program guide for you or for buyers. So if you're interested in that, again, just let me know. In any event, these programs can change over time, so it's worth checking with a knowledgeable lender to see what is currently available. I'd be happy to connect you with one, so just, again, reach out for help on that end. Tip number 7, I think it's really important to think about resale value when you're buying a home. You know, this might be your first purchase, but it very well might not be your last. You know, if you're like a lot of buyers, you're gonna end up selling this home to move up to another house at some point. So I'd encourage buyers to ask, what would someone else feel about this house? You might feel comfortable with it. Let's just say, as an example, you are moving from a big city and you're really comfortable with road noise. Well, that's great, and that could get you a discount on a house, but how would selling the house be? Is that going to be a challenge to sell, maybe especially if the market slows down and there's not as many homes on the market? That busy street home might be even harder to sell than in times where there's more buyers out there. So you're going to want to think about like the floor plan. Is it a functional floor plan? How's the location? Again, like I said, is it a busy street? Is there enough parking? Is there off-street parking, or do you have to park on the street? So those are all just examples of things that could make resale a little bit more challenging. So just keep it in mind as you go shopping. Okay, tip number 8, I think you should really buy when it makes sense for you. I get a lot of people who ask me, should I wait till the interest rates come down or should I wait for the prices to drop? And truthfully, nobody really knows what the market is going to do in the future. We can make our best guesses, but you know, I think a lot of people have waited and gotten priced out. So you just never know. I think what you want to do is ask yourself some questions like, are you financially ready? Do you plan on staying in the home for several years? And would owning improve your quality of life? Can you comfortably afford the payment? And if the answers are yes to all of these, then buying likely makes sense regardless of the headlines and what's going on nationally. Trying to time the market is extremely difficult, if not impossible to do. Okay, now let's get into a step-by-step plan that I promised at the beginning of the video. The first thing that I'd suggest you do is get your team of professionals together. You'll want to start with either a mortgage lender or a realtor, as each one should be able to refer you a counterpart that they like to work with. For example, if you reach out to me, I have several excellent lenders that I can refer you to that I know will take great care of you. Having an experienced and highly regarded team can help you have a more smooth buying process, and it can also result in the savings of thousands of dollars in many ways. I mean, it could be knowing what loan program to refer you to, knowing when you might want to be more aggressive on an offer, or how to get competitive in a competitive offer environment to get you an actual home. So number one, start with your team. The next step, as I alluded to earlier, is to get your financing in order and to get your pre-approval together so that you are offer ready. You will need a pre-approval letter to be able to write an offer, so I wouldn't really suggest going out there and start shopping homes when you're not ready to actually make an offer. No seller is going to take any offer without a pre-approval letter or a proof of funds if you're a cash buyer seriously, because they want to make sure that you are actually financially capable of buying a home. The third step is to talk with your agent and start to narrow down what you might be looking for and where. Your agent can really help you figure out locations that might fit your lifestyle, but also they might be able to help you take your criteria and figure out what might be some good neighborhoods to consider based on that criteria. For example, if you told me you needed a 3,000 square foot home on a big lot and you want it turnkey and your budget is $550,000, but you also want to live in like Selwood, Laurelhurst, or Irvington, I'm going to unfortunately tell you that that's probably not going to be doable based on your criteria and your budget. That being said, I can help you figure out what other neighborhoods might be doable close to those areas, or how you might want to adjust your criteria so you can actually buy into those areas. The fourth step, in my opinion, is the most fun, and that is actually getting out and touring homes. This is where you'll see whether you need to adjust any of your criteria based on what you're seeing in the homes and where you might want to make any compromises. This is something that I think is important to note, is that when you are buying, you probably will have to make compromises based on your search criteria or locations. It's really common for me to be working with buyers, whether they have a budget of $300,000 or $1.5 million, that they're ultimately going to need to make at least some sort of compromise. I mean, really, no home is perfect, no location is perfect, and people tend to increase or change their criteria or needs or desires based on their budgets, which I think probably makes sense. So it's just good for you to go into the process understanding that that's a distinct possibility and to really just prepare yourself mentally for that. Okay, next is the fifth step, and that's when we've actually decided what home we want to make an offer on. At that point, your agent is going to do a pricing analysis for you and determine what price and terms you're going to include with your offer. Once you do have an accepted offer, the sixth step is getting through your due diligence and financing phase. This is where you're going to do your inspections, you're going to review seller disclosures, you're going to have your home appraisal done, and you're going to submit all the necessary paperwork for your loan. This usually takes about 25 to 40 days, but it can really depend on both buyer and seller needs. Finally, you're going to sign some documents for the closing and loan paperwork, and the lender will fund the deal, and then the deed will be recorded with the county. Once the deed is recorded, it's official. You can get your keys, move in, and celebrate. So that's basically the process. I wanted to give you a 30,000 foot view of the buying process, but just keep in mind, I will help my clients understand each step of the way what they have ahead of them, and you really don't want to get bogged down too much about what's coming into the future. Your agent will or should really help you know where you are along the process and tell you kind of what's the next step or two, so you have that on your radar, but you just really want to focus about where you are in the process. Buying a home can feel intimidating, but having a good team and understanding the process makes a huge difference. If you're thinking about buying in Portland in 2026, or even 6 months or a year or two away, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have and help you create a game plan. If you found this video helpful, please like, and please make sure you subscribe for more Portland neighborhood tours, property tours, market updates, and other practical advice for buyers moving to or living in Portland, Oregon. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you on the next one.